Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. I'm your host, Erik Henriksen, and with me today is not Josh. A very special guest has joined us today. My good friend, league mate, competitor, co-manager. This is Anthony Shabazz. Anthony, welcome to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Finally, I got a spot on the show. I've been begging for the whole season, guys.
We are thrilled to have you on. Josh, unable to make it this week, but we have quite a special show for you, really designed around Anthony and his masterful skill set. If you listened to us last season, we had a trade deadline special, a two-part special. Anthony was a large subject of that trade deadline special because he is the master of wheeling and dealing. He subscribes to ABS. Do you know what ABS stands for? I think you do. It's always be selling, or ABC, always be closing. That is Anthony to a T when it comes to fantasy baseball. So we're really excited to have you on, and it's great to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. It's hot outside, but cool in here. I'm loving it. Feeling good when talking fantasy.
It's cool because you got the colors, man. I'll tell you, your room, your setting there, the backlighting, the uplighting, way cooler than anything Josh and I have. Josh just has his window to backlight, me too, and the couch. So, and I'm sure the dog is somewhere there. But on today's show, like I said, designed around Anthony and his specialty of wheeling and dealing, Mr. Gordon Gecko over there. I know Josh likes to go by Gordon Gecko.
Right. That's his nickname.
But really, it's you who's the true Gordon Gecko here. So on this week's show, we've got reading the news, and then we've got trading theory. We're going to talk about trading left and right, up and down, forward and backwards, diagonally, any which way you can think of. We're going to talk about trading and really get a absolute masterclass from the master himself on trading in fantasy baseball. And then, of course, we'll come back with our final thoughts and what we're looking for in the week ahead. But as a reminder, we release a brand new episode every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss it. We're available on more podcast platforms than ever before, including all the major ones: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible, and some new ones, including Spreaker, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, CastBox, and iHeartRadio. Don't forget, we have we have video on YouTube now. So if you're looking for us on YouTube, you can see our beautiful made-for-radio faces on YouTube for every episode this season and going forward. And again, our channel on YouTube is the Talking Fantasy Baseball Podcast YouTube channel. It's really easy to find. Just search Talking Fantasy Baseball. Please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating, a like, a thumbs up, a kind review. It goes a long way in helping us out. And if you have a question, leave a comment on the YouTube video, and we'll be sure to answer it right here on the pod. I've been saying with Josh over the last few weeks, you have 100% chance of that happening. So if you leave a question or a comment, we will respond. If it's a question, we will answer it right here. No other odds are as good as that right there. 100% chance of that happening. I can tell you this. You have 100% chance of making a trade with Anthony because he is that good at making them. Even when you don't want to, you do it anyway. I am a one-time victim of that. It has happened. Victim, I don't know is the right word. But when we come back, we've got reading the news, and then we'll get into trading a little bit later. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. I'm Erik Henriksen, not alongside the usual Josh Day. Instead, we've got my good buddy here, Anthony Shabazz, filling in for Josh, the trading guru. Anthony is in the house. This is reading the news. So first up, big one from yesterday. We are recording this on Friday, April 17th, but the biggest news coming out of yesterday was that Parker Messick almost threw a no-no. I think he went 8 innings without giving up a hit and then gave up 2 hits, and then they came around to score. He was 106 pitches going into the 9th inning there. Anthony, I don't understand Parker Messick, and I don't think I ever will. He's just one of those guys that either I'm going to just completely whiff on or, let someone else just enjoy the fruits of their, research. Do you understand Parker Messick?
Not really. Like, he doesn't fall into your line of pitching at all. Like, I know that. I know you don't enjoy his style of pitching. Like, the thing with me, like, I have him, obviously. Like, and for us in our league, it's a little different just because it's a little value him not being drafted. He worries me because I think he doesn't have a lot of room for error. Like, but honestly, like watching him, like actually watching it, not just looking at the numbers, I was like, oh, man's impressive. Man seemed impressive. But as we know, like in 23, he had a 1.22 whip. 24, he had a 1.14 whip, but in A plus it was 128. And then it got brought down by the 101 whip in double A. And then last year in double A, he had 122 whip. So the whip thing concerns me all the time just because I don't want my whip that high. And like that tells me he can't have some command issues and not being a high K guy. Like this can be a problem. This isn't like he's going to get you a 5 ERA game, but then gives you 10 strikeouts. Like I think it's going to be a thing as we get late in the season where he's going to have some bad stretches. But I'm going to ride it till it falls off. To be honest,
Yeah, ride the
yeah.
bike till the wheels come off.
All right.
Absolutely. So some things that concern me about him, you alluded to the control issues. Looking at his stat line right now, 91% left on base percentage. That's a little high. That's going to regress. His BABIP, 200. That's really low. That's going to regress. So there is room for regression here in the wrong direction because there is positive and negative regression. You know, we talk about that all the time.
Mhm.
Regression is just a term meaning coming back to the mean, right? Whether that's from the top down or the bottom up. So yes, I do expect some regression from Parker Messick. The Sierra is only 3.27, so that's pretty good. So it might not come crashing down, and I don't think he's ever going to like kill your ratios at some point. But I tend to agree with you, Ant. Like
Yeah.
he might have some stretches, or maybe fall off a little bit later in the season. He's also not like the biggest strikeout guy. Teammate Joey
Right.
Cantillo is a much bigger strikeout guy. And I just really don't see the difference between those guys. I don't know. I don't get Parker Messick, like you said, not really my kind of pitcher.
Right.
All right, now here's one. Here's one that I think everyone can kind of get behind. The fish. Mike
Mikey
Trout.
Fish.
Mikey the Fish Trout. Is he back? I think he's back. He had 5 homers in the series against the Yankees. He is the first player to hit 5 home runs at Yankee Stadium over a course of 4 days. Not even Aaron Judge has done that. What do you think of Mike Trout, man? Is he back?
Listen, I love Mikey Fish. I love the man. But let me just say this: vintage Mike Trout. This is what we seeing. If I gave you, everyone knows you're a Yankee fan. If I gave you a vintage DiMaggio jersey, you don't take it to Yankee Stadium because somebody walks near you with a beer and you're like, "Oh, get away from me." That's how we have to treat him. Like it's great. Like seeing him is fantastic, but the injury thing is always looming with him based off of how he's produced the last couple of years. Regardless, if you look at his like X slug, X Woba, it's always still top tier, even when the years he was hurt. So if I drafted him, I'm happy. Like I'll deal with the injuries as long as obviously it's not season ending, because I think he'll be fine. But you just know you'll have a stretch or two that he's going to be hurt, or 3 or 4. Like we just know that's going to happen. But like I don't think he ever left. Like I mean, I know the batting average has taken a dip, but he's still always been good when he's played. He just hasn't played.
Yeah, last year he was relatively healthy, if I'm not mistaken. But and I'll qualify that in a second. 130 games played last year was his most since 2019, which was when he played 134. He struck out at 32% last year. Something must have been wrong. Maybe that knee wasn't fully right, and now I think that knee is right because oh man, he
And
looks so good.
we know that's abnormal for him. Like he's not striking out at 32%. Like that's just not happening, right?
Right.
So it's like you never seen like a gradual decline with him, obviously injury wise. But as far as his numbers outside of the batting average, like yeah, if I drafted Mike Fish late, I'm feeling good about it. I'm gonna keep the IL spot warm, like, and then we'll be all good.
Yeah, his contact numbers, contact percentage overall, meaning on any swing, 83.7%. That lines up with 2019, 2018, 2017, when Mike Trout was like a first
Yeah,
round pick, no doubter.
that's right.
Swinging strike rate 6%. That means he's making contact, right? So that number also lines up with that same time period. Oh man. Okay.
And let me say
I
this though.
Yeah.
Let me say this real quick about the injury thing. I know I'm making like a thing about the injury, but because everybody gets hurt so much, or it feels like everybody gets hurt so much,
Yeah.
I worry about it less. It's just like when you get to either trying to trade for him, trying to like worry about him as far as in the keeper league, or if you're not in the keeper league, it's a redraft, like worrying about him as well. If you draft him, this is gold, right?
Yeah,
And
it
you're
is.
not really worried about it. I drafted Woodruff, and I was like, hey, if he gets hurt, I know he might get hurt. It's fine. I'll take a couple of good games and be okay with it. So like, I don't want to make too much about the injury, but just know it will happen, and that's why his value won't be high as some of the top outfielders, obviously. But he can hit as good as them, obviously.
Yeah, fair. Since you're the trade guru, any names off the top of your head that you would trade for Mike Trout?
Okay,
I actually asked this to my co-host on The Shallows yesterday when we recorded. That episode came out. If anyone wants to check it out, that episode came out at 11 a.m. today. I asked him. Byron Buxton was the first name I threw out. But is there anyone else that you would trade away to try and acquire Mike Trout?
let me just say Buxton. Yes, I would trade him away for Buxton.
We might have to think about that in our co-management.
Right. I'm going to say, and it's funny that we just spoke about this. I personally wouldn't do this because I'm just not in a position out in my outfield to do it. But I'm just going to go. I'm going to go the other side, pitching, because I feel like the hitting outfielders get a little weird. Like if someone needed a pitcher and I can go off of Parker Messick, I would trade Parker Messick for him. Like someone who's like, oh, I would do that just because if I need an outfielder, like the injury is a risk, but all the trades you make are a risk,
Right?
Like all of it's risk. If he's gonna hit like this, which it looks like he is, like you said, something probably was going on last year, I would make that move for him. Also, this is tough because this is kind of like everybody's kind of going crazy about it. Like we'll see what happens ultimately, but Jordan Walker.
Oh, 100%.
In a keeper, right? In a keeper league, I mean, I might not. I would be hesitant based off you don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah. But if somebody right now is feeling real high and handy about looking at a Savant page and just seeing it being red, I ship them out in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, I think there's like a rule of thumb. Look, I know Mike Trout coming into this season and last season, and maybe even the season before, was not a top 50 player, but if I'm going to offer Jordan Walker for a guy who's not in the top 30 to 50 to try and, make my team better, right. Mike Trout is that guy because he very easily could jump back up there.
Exactly.
So I like the Parker Messick one. I would, if I could get that done, I would do that. And now might be a good time because Messick had a really good outing and is off to a really hot start, and Trout the same way. But otherwise, would you say it might not be the best time to try and acquire Trout because you're really acquiring him at like a peak value, especially coming off this series?
So we'll get more into this about theory, but I think ultimately when you're looking at the trades, you're looking at the mentality of the people you're trading with and how they feel about the trade. Some people are sitting back saying, now that he is good, it is time to get rid of him. Regardless if they're thinking about he might be good, he might go, this might be a great season. They're like, oh, I struck gold. Let me sell right away. And if you got a person like that, you would think about it. Now if he goes through, it's two avenues. If he goes through a streak of a cold spell, which we saw him do a couple of times in the season, cool, grab him on a low point. If he gets injured, I'm not touching it just because his body can start to overcompensate, and then we can go into another thing of his injuries. But I would say right now, if it's something like Parker Messick, yeah, because he's also super hot, and it's like you can make that trade, and somebody might be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it depends on what they're asking for. Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait to get into that trade theory. That is the next segment coming up in just a few minutes. We are still here reading the news. Here's one for you. Over 30 consecutive scoreless innings for Padres closer Mason Miller. We have this thing. You don't keep closers in keeper leagues. You don't invest too early in closers, right?
Right.
Is he the exception to the rule?
I'll say this: when our keepers came out and I saw that he was kept, I was like, man, I was a little upset about it. I was like, okay, I wanted him to be in the draft pool. The man is nice. That's it, and that's all. This is like a 3-pitch mix, really 2, because I think the slider is at 4.5% or something like that. Like he's just, man, this is like pretty nasty. Like I still wouldn't keep him if I had him low. I wouldn't. I still wouldn't keep him just because in our league or any other league that has like only saves, I don't think it's worth it. I know he has a high K per nine, so you get Ks, you possibly get some wins depending on how whatever happens. But I still want to keep a closer, but just having him versus the other closers is, I mean, this is getting outlandish.
Yeah.
30 innings. Think about fantasy wise. 30 innings of now 0 run ball with I don't know what his K per nine is on that, but that's pretty nasty.
This year it's 22. I've never seen a number that high.
Come on, this is nasty. This man
Last
is
year it was
nasty.
15.
This is crazy.
Yeah, he's nasty. We don't talk about Stuff Plus a lot here, but Mason Miller has a 128 Stuff Plus, which is absurdly high. And this is, I think, where he's kind of taken the next step. His location plus is 110. So pinpoint
Man,
control with
that's wild.
nasty stuff. That's why no one can touch him. Mason Miller
Right.
is kind of in a class of his own. 0.96 walks per nine. There you go. There's that. That's that control, man. He is.
Yeah.
Timeout. Have you ever seen a negative FIP?
Never.
He's got a negative FIP.
This is crazy. This is insane. Look, I'll say this. It's like the same way with Kyle Raleigh last year, where they get to these stretches where like you know it's going to come back down, and it never really bottoms out as much, and they keep rising. If he has a season like that, like then I believe next year to be some different conversations about him, obviously. Like, but
Yeah.
we still have to wait to see if this is going to be a thing where it's like he's doing great. Then in June he ends up with a 6 ERA, and then he swings back in July and August and fixes it. If he gets that, it starts to look just like you just gave me all my eggs early versus waiting to give me to me late. So we have to see, but because if he sustains something like this, not obviously 0 ERA, but even like a negative FIP and something like this, man, this is going to be wild.
He's a relief pitcher. He's a closer, and he already has a 0.8 WAR. I don't fully understand WAR. I just know that last year he had a 2.0, so he's almost halfway to his stats from last year. It's too bad his body can't hold up being a starter because, man,
Right.
can you imagine that stuff in the starting rotation? Just incredible. Speaking of starters and guys who have nasty stuff, I mean, he's getting up there in age, but Garrett Cole set to begin a rehab assignment today at Double-A Somerset. That's near us. We should have gotten tickets to that game, but the weather is a little wonky. So hopefully Garrett Cole does get on the mound today. So I mean, that's just good news, man. That's just reading the news. It's just good.
Real quick, I'm excited about that. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see like at that. Obviously, he's coming back from big injury. He's getting older, like you said, but it's always good to see like the studs if they can come back. Like remember that the year where Verlander came back and it was like, wow, he's actually like it just feels good to see the studs like if they can come back and be studs again. It feels good, honestly.
Yeah.
So let's see.
I anticipate maybe like a 6 to 8 week reacclimation period for Garrett Cole once he actually makes it back to getting activated. Just because Tommy John surgery, it just takes you a minute. I know he had the internal brace, so I just think it's going to take him a couple months, even after the rehab assignment. So if you have Garrett Cole, hold tight. I'm sure he'll be useful for you later on in the season. And if I'm not mistaken, we do have Garrett Cole.
We do. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do. A bit of non-fantasy related news. Kevin McGonigle signed a 8-year, $150 million contract extension, beating out Connor Griffin's 9 years, 140 by just a smidge. But I think Griffin has bragging rights because he signed it before he debuted, and McGonigle's been in the majors now for 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Right.
Anything, because I know you and I were chatting about this before we pressed record. Anything you want to say about McGonigle's contract extension there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like as I got into fantasy, just fantasy baseball over the years, I remember this idea coming up about when they pay the young player before they play or when they're really young, they really believe them. They see something you don't see that is great. Obviously, it feels like we might be getting away from that because even though Connor Kevin Good. Who else was it? From I forgot who it was from Seattle. I think got another
Oh
contract,
yeah,
but
Colt Emerson.
right, Cole Emerson. So all these young guys now are getting paid. I don't know if this is a thing of they just believe in these guys. They can say they do, or is it something else going on that they're looking forward to a collective bargaining, and obviously they're trying to keep control of the players anyway. And this is like a cheap price, but I don't know. I feel like it's just nothing fantasy wise to look at now when I see a young player get signed. Like I told you earlier, Brian Hayes got signed, and I was like, all right, okay, maybe something else happened. They don't, and then he was Brian Hayes. So
Yeah, worm burner.
yeah,
um, I think, yeah, another example of a guy who signed a contract extension before debuting, Scott Kingery. So I think that just goes along. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I think
not
that goes
good.
along with it. For those of you listening, Anthony made a face where ew, just ew.
Ew, nasty.
Scott Kingery did not have a career, but he made a lot of money. Good job, Phillies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like you said, you used to have to take interest in those guys, and I really do think it's around the collective bargaining agreement and the negotiations that are going to go on after this season.
Yeah,
But
because
that does it for reading the news. When we come back, we're going to talk about trading theory and really give you a masterclass on how to manipulate and maneuver to go and get your guys. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. I'm Erik Henriksen alongside Anthony Shabazz, filling in for Josh Day. Ah, man, the Snoop to my Martha, the Mario to my Luigi, not here today. Instead, we've got Anthony, the Dodgers fan. Just kidding. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm repping too. We're repping our teams today. Anthony's filling in for Josh admirably. If you missed the first part of the show, for some reason you just fast forward, you want to jump straight to trading theory, go back and listen. His analysis of Mike the Fish Trout was phenomenal. Listen to the first segment, reading the news. Anthony's doing such a great job, and we can't thank him enough for filling in this week. This is Trading Theory. Again, if you missed the intro for whatever reason, I told you that Anthony is an absolute master at the negotiation, at trading. He is Gordon Gekko, for lack of a better term. He is working the phones, working email, text, Facebook message, whatever it is, to get whatever deal done he wants. And as I also mentioned earlier, he was the subject of our trade deadline special, 2-part trade deadline special last year. And let me tell you, this man knows how to work how to work the trade, and I would say the hot stove, but it's not the hot stove, but really working the trade deadline. So to get us kicked off here on our masterclass on trading theory, I have some questions written in our rundown, and these are just generic questions, and we'll kind of just let the conversation go and see how it goes. So first up, I have to ask you, Anthony, how do you assess team needs and start exploring trades? Because that's the first step, I would assume, is looking at your roster going, okay, I need help. This is where I need help. The wire is not going to help me, or this player, I don't want to just drop them. How do you assess your roster and start exploring trades?
Right. So I think, like for me, when I'm looking at my teams, I'm always looking at it based off of where I am, right? So I'm looking at my team saying, now generally, my teams are usually good enough to make the playoffs. So I'm like, okay, I'm in it. Now I start to look ahead at people I think might be weak links, people who I do feel are strong. And for pitching in particular, I might start looking at the schedules as the teams start to come up. Like right now, it's a little early, but as we go forward, I'll start looking at the schedules in September, fantasy playoff time, to see what it's going to look like. See who I'm thinking like, okay, like this person is probably looking a little too hot. As a matter of fact, you remember years ago, because you actually had him, Adrian Gonzalez. You had him, I think he hit like 14 homers in like a month and a half or whatever that was, that he went crazy. And it's like, he's not going to hit 80. And it's like, no matter what happens, he won't hit 80. Like, so it's like, okay, so this is a person I might be able to get something for. So I start to look at it just from a wide lens. And me, I love like solid floors. So I'm always looking at, okay, is this person can get me the solid floor I'm looking for, even if I might be losing out on some upside. just because the rest of my team I feel like has some people that can spike up. I'm always gonna have guys I'm gonna keep that can spike at upside or just are even their floor is probably higher than some people's spike, you know. So I start that first, and then I start to look at other teams and see surplus they have of those guys, and then I start to look at the trades.
Yeah, that's definitely like a really good way to look at it. Is has a guy kind of front loaded his production? Because I always like to say, guys are going to hit the back of their baseball card unless they're young and upcoming or have made like a distinct change, like Jordan Walker. We don't know if he's going to hit the back of his baseball card this year because he's doing things differently than he has in the past. Plus, he's also
Right.
only 23 years old. If Jordan Walker was 33 years old and suddenly doing this, I'd be like, whoa, full stop. Okay, I don't think so. What's he done the last 5 years? He's probably going to do that too. There are exceptions. George Springer last year, of course. But George Springer was a good player at one point. So, yeah, it's tough to look at your team and kind of figure out what pieces you might be able to move, because I know you can look at it and be like, oh, he's been so great. How do I get rid of him? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you kind of come off of that ledge, right? Like, I can't trade this guy. He's been so good for me. How do you basically not have a heart?
Right. Yeah. You know what? I started to look at like trading here. Like it's like a mix of like stock trading and then just like fan trading. Right.
Gordon
In the midst of
Gekko, there he is.
the midst of stock trading, it's like, oh, like you have to have a philosophy and a mentality about the player and the asset about what you have versus being like, oh, like he's been great. Like this is fantastic. Doesn't mean it's gonna last forever. You have to look at like the numbers. Now, I've been a situation where I sat down one day and I watched Strider in his first game in relief, and I said I need to get that guy, and I didn't because another guy had. I was like, I got to trade him. I got to trade him because I know this guy's gonna be good, and I missed out on him because of it. And I felt like I waited too long thinking about like this guy's too good to just drop him. Like he's too good. If a guy is too good, he better be too good for a career. I mean, like like he has to be like solid enough for a career where you know he's gonna bounce back and be good versus me just holding him for no reason. Like if we're talking about like Jordan Walker, for instance. Jordan Walker is so good right now. If I came to you and said, hey, I'm gonna offer you Caminero for him. If you say no just because because he's been so good, like that becomes a problem, right? Take away the name, look at what he's doing this year, and then look back and see what he's done before. Even with the changes, you don't know what those changes look like over a full season. Some people have the fear of missing out, so they worry about what's going on, what's going to happen in the season, especially in a redraft. It doesn't matter what he's going to do next year. It doesn't matter at all. And I will say this, interesting. The way I feel about players, especially younger players, is that this is a grind, right? The season is a grind. I think it's always more likely those younger players will be great. If they're great, they'll have some stretches during the fantasy playoffs because their bodies are used to the type of run. Like it's always going to be some time where it's like you have to get ready to go over the hump. This might be your hump because you haven't played top tier ball all year. Even if you top tier ball is not you hitting 171. I mean, you actually being counted on to actually produce.
Yeah.
So I start to look at it like, you know what? Whoever they are, it doesn't matter. If you're new and shiny, you're new and shiny. Like you're not gold yet. You're just you're just a new toy.
The Pandora's box is something that's very fun and exciting, especially in the leagues that we play in, which are generally, they're keeper leagues. So we want to find the gems, and the way our league works. You've heard Josh and I talk about this in the past. It is our 10-teamer. And you keep players for 4 years at the end of the draft if they were undrafted, or at their draft round +1. So you're taking value into account when you're making certain moves there. But you've surveyed your team. You've severed your heart. So you're not attached to anybody. You're looking at it logically like a stock, like assets, which I hate to tell everyone, they don't know that they're on your fantasy team. Their feelings will not be hurt if you trade them or look at them like they're just numbers.
They don't care.
Okay. But don't get mad at them when they do poorly, because they are still human beings. So like I said, you've severed your heart. You've identified team needs. You've identified the players that you want to trade away. The next step I would assume is that you reach out to a manager. So in particular, everyone has a different way of doing this. Some people just blindly send trades. Some people send blind undercut deals, have no business going through, and they hope that either the manager makes a mistake or is stupid. We know those players. We've played with those players. You know who you are. Anyway. So how do you initially reach out to a manager when there's a player that they have that you're interested in?
Right. So I'm reaching out straightforward with reasoning, right? When I'm speaking to the people. Now, generally it depends. If we are in a random league where we just jumped in just for some fun, I don't know any of these people. So I'm just meshing them directly with offer and reasoning. This is the offer. This is the reason why I think it'll work. I also don't send blind trades. Like if you have Acuna, Rooker, Buxton, and you picked up Jordan Walker, I need to look at that. I can't just be like, hey, you know what? I have an outfielder for you. You're gonna look like it's not gonna make any sense. I look at both teams, and regardless if I feel like who's giving up the best player, I'm trying to offer where I think your holes are. Now, maybe you don't believe you have a hole there. I might believe it, so I'll send you an offer for that. I will send my reasoning and the offer. Now, it's different for people that I know because when you're in a keeper league, you start to understand mentalities and like what people think, what they like, what they don't like. You know that a little more, so you have to keep them things in your mental Rolodex as far as how you're going to get some of the trades over. But that's generally how I'm going for it. Is I'm offering you an offer plus a reasoning because some people don't think of the whole picture when they're looking at a trade because it's not their player. They might not be focused on the player that much. I obviously this year I didn't keep Ben Rice. One of the reasons I didn't keep him is because they signed Goldie. I was concerned about the lefty thing. He's hitting out of this world, and they still sit him against lefties, right? But nobody might even think about that if you didn't have him. You wouldn't really worry about it. So I give my reasoning, and then I let it go from there.
Yeah. Last week I talked on the show about my trade for Sal Stewart, which was Ryan Pepiot for Sal Stewart. I walked everybody through how I approached the manager, and I did just that. I said, hey, would you be open to trading one of your first basemen because you have 4 of them? And so I saw a blockade basically in his roster. He had way too much of one position, and there was the player that I was interested in happened to fit into one of those into that position that player that manager had, and that was Sal Stewart as part of one of his 4 first basemen. He had Matt Olson and Michael Bush and Jack Caglione, so he had 4 first basemen along with Sal Stewart. So 4 first basemen. I said, hey, you have an excess of this. Looks like you need help in these positions. So that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Right.
Turns out that manager didn't think that he needed help in those positions and he wanted a pitcher instead. So in the moment when you get that feedback, when you get that response from a manager, how do you pivot and how do you make sure to keep them kind of on the hook? Like what's your sales maneuver, if you will, to like, okay, I was wrong. You just told me I was wrong, but I didn't hear the word no. I'm not going to take the word no. How do you pivot in that moment?
So when I'm speaking to people generally about trades, and I get you, some people always say, I don't believe what you just said. Like, I don't need help here. Like, yeah, my third baseman is hitting like 081, but I think he's gonna be I think he's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. Like generally when I hear that, everyone has a hole. Like even if your team is hitting great, somebody on the team has a hole. Fantasy baseball particularly is set up that way. We have too many people on our roster for us not to have an issue. I'm generally trying to figure out who do you like on my team, and I can see if I can stomach it, right? And then I start to say, okay, and I don't mind countering myself when I first start off this conversation, right? Because I understand if you don't like it, but I think this asset is good on your side, I'm gonna go for it. Like I'm going for that asset, obviously. We'll get into how we pay for these people, how we value them. But as far as how I'm paying for it, I'm just trying to get you to tell me what you like. Because if what you like is something that I possibly can stomach, then I'll start to get into it. Me and you just had this conversation. Well, we did it with our league. We'll get into that trade we made for Scoople. Didn't want to give up the pitcher we gave up, but it's like that deal makes sense. It's good for us. So we went and did it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's finding what you feel comfortable giving up can be like the real challenge and the hardest thing. That is the hardest thing for me when trading. And because we have negotiated a bunch of times.
Mm.
I'm trying to acquire and never get worse anywhere, right?
Right.
At the same time, there may come a time where you have to, if you really want to acquire that piece that you're really looking at.
Right.
And so it's kind of navigating that situation where, they say, this is what I need. And if, like you said, you can stomach it, being able to pull the trigger and give up maybe what you didn't initially plan to give up. Like I didn't plan on giving up a pitcher for Sal Stewart because I looked at the guy's team and he was starting Jorge Polanco at second base. And I was like, you need a second baseman, sir. He didn't think he did. And I think he has since dropped Jorge Polanco. I will tell you if he has.
He did. I've seen today.
He did. Of course he did. Right. So I hate being right all the time. It's really tough. Oh, he picked up Gleyber Torres. Still could have used Jackson Holiday or literally anybody else.
Right.
And looking at third base, he's got Max Muncy, Bo Bichette at shortstop. Like he could have used second, third, or short, and I had the excess to trade him that, and he just wanted pitching. I hate trading away pitching. You know this.
Yes.
It's so thin out there. I don't draft pitching early anymore, but I hate trading it away because I have to be like a ninja in the draft when I'm drafting them and pick the exact right guys at the exact right time. So it's really tough for me to do that. But I really wanted Sal Stewart. So I gave up a pitcher. So.
And you did a good job because he was someone I was targeting because remember I had him last year.
Yep.
But I thought that, this is the player that we're speaking of is new to the league.
Yeah.
And because he was so drafted so low and was hot, I took a step back to wait because I was like, he probably won't trade him now based off what was going on. So that was good on your part. Sure.
Yeah. We came to a mutually beneficial agreement. And unfortunately, his acquisition of Ryan Pepio went on the 60-day IL earlier this week. So that was unfortunate for him. Maybe a lesson in there, never trade for an injured player unless you definitively know that injured player is on his way back.
Right.
Now, you've found some common ground that the manager says, hey, actually, this is what I need. You've said, hold on a second, let me think. You've said, okay, I can stomach this. How do you get them away from a player you don't want to trade away? Like, let's say they hone in on a player. You're like, oh man, no. I can't. How, like, what's your negotiation process? Cause now you're negotiating, you've hooked them in. Tell us about how you actually negotiate.
So this is the thing with us in this league in particular, because the keeper league, we have other assets outside of just the players. We obviously have the picks, right? We have rounds associated with these players that give them more value. At that point, you're trying to sell value. Let me say this first before we get deeper into that.
Sure.
Is that another thing that people have to realize when you're trading, the value of the player is based off of the league, not the player, right? Like if I look at, say, Zach Wheeler, who had his velo is down, and I say he is a top 5 pitcher, and the league is telling me no, his velo's down, we don't trust him. So guess what? I'll trade you another pitcher for him that might not be on that level. I can't say he is the top 5 pitcher. No, now in this league, he is whatever the league is saying they'll give me for him, right? So generally, when I get to the conversation with people and they hone in on a player, if the value is so off, say if the player, say for instance, you pick Bryce Harper, for instance.
Sure.
And you're like, Bryce Harper is the player, and that's who I want. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm actually for a closer. Like, we're not in the comparison right now, basically, because it doesn't make any sense. I'll step away. I'll hard step away and say, you know what? Cool, no thanks. And I'll walk away from it. But if it's a player that I really want to keep and it's close in value, I'm always trying to come back around with different value points. I wouldn't then try to go and sell you on a lower player. I'll say, well, how about let me pivot if it's hitters, let me throw in a pitcher, a solid pitcher to try to make up that value. You're always trying to make up some value to make sure that they feel like they're getting something out of it instead of me just saying, hey, let me give you a lower first baseman or a lower third baseman that you don't want. You know, you got to make up that value somewhere, even if it's going to hurt if you love that one player.
Yeah, I like what you said about how the league dictates the value of the player, because I had that experience in the preseason trying to trade away Zach Neto. All of you listening out there know Zach Neto is a great keeper. He, especially if you're keeping him at the end of the draft, he is a young 30-30 upside player. And he was just about there last year, coming off of a shoulder injury, starting the season, missed a couple weeks, and he was almost at 30-30 last year. Zach Neto is one of the better keeper/dynasty players, but nobody in the league wanted him, and I wasn't going to sell too low. That's the walkaway part too. It's like you can't, if the league says no, he's not actually worth this, even though you in your heart think that that's what they're worth, then you have to also be able to like walk away and know, okay, well, I guess I'm stuck with this player,
Right.
or I'm not going to be able to acquire that player. How do you ever like correct anybody and be like, no, you're actually you're wrong. Here's why. And then you like tell them why this player, like, how do you sell your player in that instance without
Absolutely.
demeaning the other player? Because I've done this by accident, and I'm sure you've done this too. I don't know if we've done it to each other, which is where you're like, I'm interested in a player, and they're like, nah, I'm good. And then you try to like say like, well, the guy you have is like not good at this, this, and this. And then,
Right.
obviously like, why are you trying to acquire them? Right?
Right.
So how do you sell your player without bringing down the value of what you're trying to acquire?
Right. So I'm gonna be honest. I have been very honest recently about. I've stayed away from speaking about the player I want because I've done like you said in the past. Start speaking about the player. Oh man, he strike out like this. They're like, why does that make sense? It doesn't. So I go and say, hey, listen, I need this player because of this. I'll be honest. Like my roster is looking like this. My construction is looking like this. I'm trying to figure these things out. It makes sense for both of us to make this trade. For my player, is sometimes I'm pointing out all the upsides, but I also don't trade players away who are at the bottom, right? You have like, you're either a skyscraper trader or a subway trader, right? You're trading people who are already on the up or people who are down that you believe are going to go up, like one or the other, right? So when I go into it, I'm never going to offer you Parker Messick with an 8 ERA. I'm not going to offer you a player I have that has a 10 ERA, right? Because I'm trading such at low value. I rather keep them if I believe they're going to turn it around, and if they're like a solid player like Judge, who might struggle like for the first week of the season, I'm never trading you that player because it's my first round pick. I think he's going to be fine. I'm going to keep him, right? So generally, the players that I'm trading are always players who are, if they're not hot, they're actively. You start to see it, like you see, like, oh, last month he was hitting 275. Now I started to trade my plays at that point, so I have points to trade you for and to talk about instead of me being sitting back trying to argue with some player who isn't performing well. I want them to actually see it on the field.
Eventually you will reach a point where you come to an agreement with the manager, and and you make a trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of alluded to it a few minutes ago. We made a trade in the league that we are co-managing together. It was Scooble, who we acquired, and we sent away Shohei Ohtani and Zach Wheeler. Actually, we acquired Scooble and McGonigle.
Yep.
For pitcher Ohtani and Zach Wheeler. Tell us a little bit about the process of making that deal, because obviously I said, Anthony, if this is who you want, like, actually the directive was, let's try and get rid of Zach Wheeler. Right.
Right.
So, and naturally this is your instinct, and this should be everybody's instinct, is you aimed as high as possible. You said, let me go get the number one pitcher in drafts 3 weeks into the season. Okay. So you did. Tell us about that deal, the mentality, what went into it, etc.
Right. So I believe the original offer was Wheeler and I think it was Robbie Ray.
Yeah.
Just to start off with. And at this point, Scuba he didn't have this good game he just had recently, so he was down. So the original thought going into it is, I don't know this person that we're trading with. what is your mentality on players? Like, people have to remember this too. Like, I hate to say this, your stupidity is an issue. And I don't mean that by the player that we traded with, but if you are playing fantasy and you are upset because a player played poorly for 3 games of the season, Erik, you said this all the time. If these 3 games happen in August, you wouldn't care, right? If you, I need to see if you're that person. If you're that person who really, if you're like, hey, he's playing bad, I don't want him, it's trash, I'll take your trash. And I want your trash for anybody else tries to get it because I believe that it's good. This person that we traded with wasn't that type of person. This person actually gave us a counter, and when he countered Will Tiny and Wheeler, which is a good offer for him, I get what he was doing. He wanted some depth. The thought at that point was, okay, we're giving us someone who could be an ace in Otani already, versus and Willow who could come back to being an ace, but at that point his velo is down. The mentality is now this is a lot to give up for Scooble, right? Because now we're giving away 2 pitchers, but we have an abundance of pitchers already. We have Rendon come back from the IL and Cole, who already is on the IL,
And
a
Hunter Green stash too.
Hunter Green stash. And then it becomes a thing like, is it okay to what might be overpaid? In the best case scenario, if Wheeler and Otani top out, we have overpaid for this person. But more than likely or not, the pitcher we know are going to be the best pitcher in this deal is Scooble. We know that. We went and got the best pitcher, and you can't be afraid to overpay sometime in some of these deals because he needs to feel like he's getting something back, right? I can't offer him, you know what I mean? Like you can't sit there and offer him like you said, Ryan Pepio, who's on the 60-day IL, and just think it's going to be good. The only reason this deal can work is because Zach Wheeler has a name value, and it's up in the air. Is he going to be good or not? We just really don't know. A couple years ago, I traded away Glasnow when he was out for the season for a 2nd-round pick because that guy who I traded with just knew in the keeper league they can keep him for 4 years, and he said he's going to come back and everything's going to be great. So you have to think about sometimes as you're going into it, it's not just about the best case on your side. You go to get the guy you want. And for our league, for our team who already has Crochet, which obviously hopefully Crochet can turn around, like now we put a 1-2 punch that by July could be just mowing people down, you know. And with Shohei, we'll see about what happened with Shohei. You know, I love him, obviously. But it's like pitching and hitting, it always concerns me. You know?
Well, yeah, but not only that, Shohei's going to be in a 6-man rotation all year.
Exactly.
Right. So
he'll never have 2 starts.
Right. You're probably not going to get a 2-start week out of him. Look, he's looked dominant and absolutely fantastic to start the year. But like you said, we got the best player in the deal.
Yeah.
And what I don't want to gloss over this, but actually before I get there, we didn't know what Wheeler's going to give us, right? Like that was just a big mystery box. Plus we had 3 other injured pitchers stashed. And thoracic outlet, I don't like it. It's like a career ender. Okay. You just don't come back the same. So we played on that guy's speculation, and that's great. But I don't want us to gloss over that we got Kevin McGonigle back in this deal, who is third base and shortstop eligible. And our third baseman is Alex Bregman, and our shortstop is Geraldo Perdomo.
Right.
I mean, we also have Connor Griffin, which is great too. But I said to you when you saw the counter and you messaged me about it, I said, we don't really need Kevin McGonigle.
Right.
And what did you say back to me? Do you remember?
I think I said we can't get too greedy because this guy is right now willing to give away his 1st-round pick for our. It was something to that effect. I remember we had like the conversation about it. Yeah, kind of like at that point when someone is telling you, "Hey, okay, here it is. I'll give you the best player in the deal, and I'll give you a budding young player at certain." And we already have a third base that might be a little iffy. Like now we're getting a good young player that might develop into something for the year. When you have them there already, when you plus counter and send it back to him, you don't know if you're going to get that back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's different if you're just talking about it and he's like, oh, I might trade you Scooble. But what about when he says, hey, here it is. There goes Scooble. You have to like kind of like make the decision. Like unless he came back and asked us for Acuna, Shohei, then it gets out of hand. But that right there, like you kind of got it. Was that a bird in the hand? We had it right there.
Yeah. He said, "Look, I will trade you the player that you want."
Right.
and it was still at a price. It's not like he said Scooble for Crochet, which we definitely were not going to do,
Right.
because what's really, you're not
Well,
really moving the needle
right.
there. So yeah, I think it was really great advice there, where it's like, yeah, he's giving us the guy we want. We're just giving up a better pitcher than Robbie Ray and Shohei Ohtani. But like we're getting what we want, and we're getting something else back too, which we didn't ask for initially.
Didn't ask for, right. Initially, we asked for, it was just Scoople, Robbie Ray, and Zach Wheeler, and he came back with McGonigle and then added in Shohei. So we got extra value, and that's the thing. Sometimes I think like you can let people think themselves out of deals just based off of you asking for too much, or come back and come back and come. Like it can bother you. Like if the player you're targeting is said player that's in the deal in the counter and it makes sense, and you're like, you know what, I can stomach this. Now look, we have Crochet, we have obviously we have Rendon, we have other pitchers that we didn't have to worry about, to where we didn't have to be as concerned with losing Shohei. So it's like, now that we have that, it's like you don't want to lose that just to go back about McGonigle, right? Because it's like he wasn't even someone that we even worried about in the first place, you know.
Right.
And now we can worry about our roster construction for the rest of the team after you have that big dog in the mix.
Yeah, just to give everyone the results of that trade. Again, we acquired Scooble and Kevin McGonigle. Our pitching staff, yes, we gave up Ohtani, but our pitching staff is now Scooble, Crochet, and Sale. We got to rename our team like the Lethal Lefties or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
And then we also have Robbie Ray, another left-hander.
Right.
Braxton Ashcraft and Bubba Chandler. Those are our healthy starters at the moment. And then we've got Rodon, another lefty, stashed. Hunter Green and Garrett Cole as well. We're gonna have to do something about Jordan Romano, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, let me say this too. This is something interesting for him too. And I don't know, it wouldn't have changed my mind, but it would have made me cause for pause. The person that we traded them to has a different roster construction. He has a heavy hitting bench roster construction with no bench pitching. So he has really no wiggle room there. So I know some people like to build their teams that way. This league, just based off of how it's kind of built out, all the rest of the teams, you need some sort of bench pitching just to kind of keep your innings up and to keep the counting stats together. The fact that he had his roster built like that made it more okay to do that trade, because now we're dealing with someone who, even if you were to get a top Shohei and a top Wheeler, if you go against us, them two are bumping heads. But we have Sel, we have Robbie, we have Bubba, and our counting stats are just most likely going to outdo you based off of who he has on his bench. So you have to look at the other teams too and see what they're looking at. You know, not to say that should be the end all be all, but to pay attention to what that person is doing that you're trading with. You know,
we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm gonna ask Anthony if there are any players he's looking at right now to target and who he might be trying to trade, just so that you have some idea of value here in the middle of April, still in the early part of the season. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. Anthony Shabazz filling in for Josh Day. I, of course, am Erik Henriksen here, welcoming you back from commercial. We are still in the middle of our trading masterclass. Middle's a loose term. We're now towards the end. And I want to ask Anthony if there are any players that he's looking at trading away or acquiring, and why, and like who he might be trying to give up for them, just so that you guys have an idea of value here in the middle of April, 3.5 weeks into the season. So, Ant, anybody that you're looking to acquire?
I'll say, let me start by saying this. I'm gonna give 3 names that it's really no reason to even speak on why you should be trying to acquire them. J-Rod, Lindor, Crochet, just get them. It's fine. Like, especially
Buy
where
low.
it's at now. Just buy low now. It is what it is. Most likely people won't trade you. If they do, great. Take them. Just take them in.
I'm going to add one name to that. Jesus Luzardo is a great buy low at the moment as well.
That was my first one I was going to bring up. So great. Yeah, like I have Jesus Luzardo. I'm not concerned. Like, he's streaky, and he's streaky like the next player I'm going to talk about. Totally fine. You look at the xERA, FIP, Sierra, everything's fine. Like, you might be upset about the fact that he'll get some blow up games, but he's going to be fine. High strikeouts are still going to be there the rest of the season. It just works. And especially depending on if you bring him in, which starter is he to you? Like for me, he's my third starter. So it works out perfectly for me because I have two guys who I trust on the upside. So
who do you have,
totally
Anthony?
Fine. Well, I got Paul Skeens and Crochet sitting there at the top, so, they're just sitting there chilling at the top. And when they get rolling, I feel good.
Well, why do you have Garrett Crochet, Anthony?
Look, for as long as me and Erik have known each other, we had never made a fantasy trade.
Never.
We have been back and forth, never, so many negotiations, never made a trade. This offseason, we made a trade. I made a trade for Crochet. I had 4 first-round picks, and he won one of them. We went back and forth. This still was like a tense 2 days, 3 days, actually longer than that, because I offered him a trade, and you didn't accept it for like 4 days. You're like, let me think on it. Let me work on it. And we finally got it done. But it was, that was a big moment for us.
That first round pick I acquired turned into Fernando Tatis Jr., so I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
Right. And let me say one thing too about trading really quickly. Sorry to jump back into this.
Yeah.
Also, when you're picking up your teams, like I drafted some of my team thinking about trades already, just because, like I had Jackson Merrill on my bench, for instance. All these players get hurt. I mean, no matter what they do, no other league gets hurt doing some of the most simplest things. So I like to have a little bit of depth, right?
A 15-day IL, elbow tendonitis, brushing teeth.
Right. So it's like I need to have that depth, but I'm going for like value best player at the beginning, and it already shown. Like one of my outfitters, I had Rooker already hurt, and now Jackson slides in. And if Jackson plays well this season, he will be someone who will be like a prime candidate that I will send out. Like, so just think about when you have your surplus, you're trying to keep solid surplus, and you can use it for something later. It's not just rotting on your bench. You're using it for it's cooking. It's just cooking cinnamon, like a brisket. It's just sitting there 18 hours. And when it's ready, you pull up, slice it, and serve it up for something you need. But let me get back. So we both agree Jesus Luzardo, buy low, streaky, but the good is going to be good. Like the good is going to be really good. The other play is obvious, and it's Jazz. Now, I won't get Jazz. I know I won't get Jazz in my league that I'm in now. The person who has them will not trade it. You know who has them. Everybody here knows the person who has them.
Is it Josh?
It is Josh. So he won't trade it because he understands that, well, Jazz is streaky. Like, we know that to be the case. But you'll be upset now. But in June and July, when you have 3 home runs and 5 stolen bases in a week, you'll be perfectly fine. Last year, he had a 519 OPS. I think he hit 161 in April last year. Like he'll be fine. He's just coming back off of the man's from the Caribbean. Like he has that hot blood. He needed to get real hot. He needed to get these moving.
He even said that last year. He's like, I hate the cold.
Like legit. Like when he starts to groove and we're in the East Coast, we understand it's been a little chilly. Sometimes it's going to be chilly next week. Jazz is going to be totally fine, and he's somebody that I would go if JD didn't have him, if Josh didn't have him, I'll be on him ASAP because his StatCast looks awful. His conversation about going 50-50 looks awful. Anybody read anything about Jazz, you would think, maybe this is a situation. And he's super streaky, which people don't like. But second and third base eligibility, how many people have a top third baseman? Because I don't. So,
that's my bad for jumping you in the first round trade and drafting J-Ram.
Right. Another player I'm gonna give is 2 players I would target, but with slight caution. One, Pete Alonso. I really like what's happening with Pete Alonso. His metrics look good. I like what's happening on the metrics, not with him right now, but I feel like he'll swing around. The only thing that worries me is the bat speed. Even when he's been bad, his bat speed has been 90th percentile. Now it's 60th percentile. That's a little and when you start getting to the age thing about it, like he a big boy. That's a big boy. When you eating those steaks, those burgers, and over time, like, is it just a thing where it's like he's slowing up? At some point, the bat speed is going to slow down, right? And is it going to be 60th percentile now going forward? He's still hitting the ball hard. His average exit velo is still super high, but I'm a little concerned about the bat speed.
It's interesting that change happens as he changes organizations. It's a 2 mile per hour drop year over year. That's not insignificant. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good catch. Launch angle also down for Pete Alonso. But look, like we've seen him for, since 2019.
Right.
You know what the polar bear is going to put up at the end of the season. What might fluctuates the batting average. Strikeout rate's up this year, but he's sporting a career high walk rate. So I could see total buy low opportunity for the polar bear. Absolutely.
And it's like a double-edged sword with the move into an organization. We see people push hard. Everybody speak about that, like, oh, the guy's pushing hard. You also think it's familiarity. It's like it might take some getting used to, but also could be bad for you. Like that is never really spoke about. Like, yeah, man, he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. It's like, yeah, but this is a completely new situation. You don't have a falafel truck in the city hanging around Queens no more. Like now you're down there and you're in Baltimore. You might feel like that was a money move. So
yeah,
we'll see. But I would try to buy low on him, honestly, if I could. I feel okay on my first base right now. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so I would try to buy low on him. Just keep an eye on that bat speed. But he's gonna hit 30 regardless. I mean, because when he hit it, it's gonna be gone. And he'll find a way to make sure he still hits it. Another one with caution, Yuri Perez. I think Yuri is looking good, but it sucks because this is something he always has an issue with. I said earlier, I don't like high whip guys. His command has been a little strange over and over again. And I actually I watched him the last outing and like I saw it. Like it kind of was all over the place. And it's like, I do think the numbers can lie to you sometimes. That's why you just try to look at some players that you're targeting or players that you like, actually watch and see how it ends up.
The eye test matters. It
the
does
eye
matter.
test legit matters. You have to watch and see. Even if you're watching all the games, see how they're playing. Because some of that stuff could it could be finagled based on how the game goes, So I think by mid-season, maybe even before that, like Yuri probably going to be super solid. But I can see him being a person that comes back and run a 3.2 ERA with a 1.1 WHIP for like a month and a half, and you're like feeling great for 8 starts, even though he might have some problems. But that would be something I would go for. For anybody that's in a keeper league or dynasty league, or even if you just want to look at somebody that you can buy high on. 2 buy highs, I will buy high on Sal. I'll buy high on Jordan. Right? If I can do it right now, I would have tried to go after Sal if you didn't grab him. And Jordan too, I would have tried to buy high on Jordan. But obviously, Jordan Walker, right? At a relative price, obviously, you don't want to go too far. You don't want to go too high. But if someone's feeling foolish about him and I'm going to take this opportunity to sell, you don't sell too high. I mean, you don't buy too high. But if you can buy at a good price, I won't mind.
Okay, so you named Jordan Walker, Yuri Perez, Pete Alonso, missing
Sal Stewart,
Sal Stewart.
And
so what do you give it? Like, what type of player are you trying to give up to acquire these players?
First and foremost, especially in redraft, no matter how deep the league is, obviously you can't be as willy-nilly with trades. We spoke about this just because you have less margin for error based on how deep the league is. Unknown breakouts. Like unknown breakouts this early is a thing. If I can trade, let's just say, even if we go back to when Ellie was in the league, when Ellie first came up, if I can trade a Ellie who comes in and hits 250 and steals a bunch of bases for any top player that was cold as a buy low at that point, I would have. Regardless of his high, like in a redraft for sure, I don't care. Like this is regardless of his high upside. I'm trading anybody who is breaking out that does not have a track record, no matter how good they are in the redraft, for a solid person who I know is just getting the kinks out, and they're gonna work with it. Like when it starts getting warm, they'll start to play differently. So I know we spoke about Parker Messick. I know I said a buy high on Sal or Jordan, but buy high doesn't mean that you don't trade them for a J-Rod, Crochet, Lindor. Like Sal and Jordan, they get the traded. That's the first ones. The second ones are the mid-tier, your mid-tier players, right? Like your third and fourth starters off the bench. I mean, your fourth and fifth starters off the bench of your pitchers. The people who, if you had a true 1 through 9 lineup, that's in the middle of your lineup with surplus, right? So I'm pretty sure everyone, if you don't have 1 or 2, you have to have some type of bench bats. right? If you have a surplus of somebody that you really trust, I will start looking at the starter. If the starter, and I don't look at it from the player, I look at it from if my bench person and my starter, say a third base gap is like this, and the shortstop gap is like this, I'm looking to trade the third baseman, even if he's the better player, right? Because I have somebody who I feel is relatively closer to avoid what you said earlier, where you don't want to go get back too bad in one position. So I would look at that first, like just look at your surplus, look at your young breakouts. If you start to talk about big ticket people who are actually performing, you shouldn't be thinking about trading those people unless this is something that has to do with dynasty, something to do with keepers. Other than that, you're trying to get value for them. Someone who's selling Jazz can't ask you for what they paid for Jazz because Jazz is not jazzing right now. Somebody who has Jesus Luzardo can't ask you what they paid for him because they don't have it right now. They have no leg to stand on. Either they keep them and deal with it, or they get off of them right now. So you have to hold firm to that and don't let them talk you into, yeah, I'll do Jazz for Gunner or something. They're like, no, we're not having that conversation. Like,
yeah, no, it's a really weird time to be making trades this early in the season, but it's a time where you can probably acquire players that you truly believe in, whether they're overperforming or underperforming, or I shouldn't really say overperforming. I should say like off to a hot start. Like Sal Stewart, I wouldn't say he's overperforming. I believe in Sal Stewart. Sure, is he overperforming a little bit? Maybe, but I think he's going to be a really reliable player going forward. So now's a good time to acquire a player like that because the track record is a lot smaller. Maybe the manager that has them is thinking, oh, this is just a hot start. I'm going to try and capitalize on it. Or, and the point is, I do think this is the time of year where you're going to be able to acquire certain players at the cheapest value you're going to be able to get them all year in a trade. Yeah. And so it's finding that player, detaching yourself from the players on your team and really trying to scientifically, not emotionally, acquire the needs on your roster that, the holes that you're looking to fill. Well, that'll do it for our trade theory, our trade masterclass. When we come back, we're going to give you our final thoughts and what we're looking forward to in the week ahead. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. This is our final thoughts. These are grammar. What is grammar? These are our final thoughts and what we're looking forward to in the week ahead. We're just coming off of our trade masterclass. Beautifully well done by Anthony here. So, Ant, what are you looking forward to in the week ahead? Any final thoughts you have?
Honestly, I know, like, obviously we're always looking at trades. I am looking at all the players we spoke about who I said will buy low, even players who just been underperforming who I'm not looking at, to see when we start to get things coming back. Because we're getting to the point now where some players who we consider buy low, not the ones that we name, but if it becomes a problem going into this week, we start to look at, okay, what is going on? Is someone injured? Like, is there an issue? Like, you should start to see things go back. Like we said about Judge. Judge played bad 3 or 4 games, homer. He's fine, right? Like, you're trying to see if he start coming back. Also, the hot starts is aiming on start coming back down. I think Jordan Walker's, like we talked about, his savant page was like just 99s all the way. Like, at one point where he started coming down, like where we started to get some people that come back down to earth, and just watching out for any new emerging. Some throughout the season, there are going to be other players who emerge that are going to be valuable. You know what I mean? And we don't know when that happens. Around this time is when Crochet emerged a couple years ago. Like, we don't know if it's going to have beginning of the season, in the middle. So just always looking out to see what's going on with it.
Always be scouting. Always be selling, and always be closing. I am looking forward to I hope these hot starts continue. I got to make some moves in one of my leagues because I just had another reliever go on the injured list, and how many relievers can you really stash on the IL?
Right.
I would love to, actually, I'm looking forward to this, honestly. All jokes aside, I really want to see Ryan Walker get into the 9th inning for the Giants because he has not pitched or started the 9th inning for the Giants in all of April. So what is the closing situation in San Francisco?
Right.
Okay, you got a manager getting cute. He's like, oh, yeah, he provides a good opposite arm angle look from Robbie Ray. We're just going to pitch him every time after Robbie Ray. And I'm like, what is this junk? You're overthinking.
Can I say this? Because this is something I really believe about players. Like back in the day, they used to call like these old like Italian gangsters mustache Pete's. That's how I feel about the managers in baseball. On no other sport, they lie to you. They get fancy. Like as old school as they are, like they just don't like tell you the truth, and things just happen. Aaron Boone, yo, we're not sitting Ben against lefties. Ben sitting against lefties. Like it just happens every single time. We don't know why they do what they do, and it just causes us to be in a position to where like we only thing you think you know, you don't. You know, if anyone knew that Tatis would have played second base, top 5. If you thought that he might have got just thought he might have got second base eligibility, but nothing happened. So we'll see. We'll see. It's always some turns with fantasy baseball.
Put Ryan Walker in the 9th inning. At least let's see if he's got his closing chops back, because I think when you move a guy around like that, you don't really get a good feel because you can't lock into a role. Man, it's frustrating. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully Ryan Walker pitching in the 9th inning. Otherwise, I have to make some closer moves, and this might be the worst season ever for closers. It makes me want to go to saves plus holds in every league, but then they're worthless. So we're going to wrap it up right there. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. To make sure you don't miss it, or any episode for that matter, please subscribe. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Anthony, thank you so much for filling in for Josh. This was your first time on a pod, and you absolutely killed it, dude.
Appreciate it.
Well done. Well done. You are welcome back here anytime you want to join us. I think it'd be great to have a 3-man pod once,
Absolutely.
get that done. But again, thank you so much for joining us. That is Anthony Shabazz. I am Erik Henderson saying, see you next time.